Manx Loaghtan sheep are an ancient and rare breed native to the Isle of Man. Here are our 3 rams. Each has 2 characteristically curled and impressive horns. Rams are powerful animals and always to be respected. Much finer than the rams, our ewes have both 2 and 4 horns. Both rams and ewes can have 2, 4 or even 6 horns. Ewes remain harmonious together and are never happier than when they have their young close by. Halter training sheep takes a lot of time and patience, and this shearling ram appears to be having some difficulty getting the hang of it. I think it's time to get those treats out. Manx Loaghtans produce the most beautiful crop of wool year after year. Born in March 2020, this sheep will be sheared for the first time later in the summer. So a shearling fleece has the longest staple and a delicate crimp. The wool is chocolate brown at the skin. The depth of colour varies between flocks, from very dark chocolate to red brown, and the tips of every fleece are blonde as they're bleached by sunlight. Manx Loaghtans are inquisitive and assertive sheep. This shearling is checking out the ewes as he plans his strategy for November, when he'll be wooing the ladies. With the wool we produce machine spun knitting yarn in various weights, as well as weaving yarn which is woven into cloth and sold by the metre. We also produce Manx Loaghtan throws, pashminas, cushions, hats and dresses.
Hello, I'm Heather Proctor, and these are some of the Soay sheep that we have at Marfield Farm. The Soay sheep originate from the island of Soay in the St Kilda group in Scotland. They are the most primitive native breed. They're also a rare breed. You can see the primitive characteristics of the sheep. They're very small, quite slim, fine-boned, or most of the ewes have horns, but there are some polled as well. The fleece is fairly short and often a dark brown colour, usually with the mouflon markings, which means it's a light colour under the belly, the rump and under the jaw. But you can also see that it comes in a light tan colour, and some have white markings which can vary in size. Some of ours just have white on their heads, but you can get them in sort of big brown and white patches like Jacob sheep. The Soay fleece, it has a very short staple, but it has a very soft undercoat and a variable amount of hair depending on the sheep and its bloodline. These animals are quite nervous of people, which is why they're all hiding in the corner away from me. They're very self-sufficient. They'd quite happily get on with life without any intervention from people at all. As the Soays were so still in the first part of my video, I'm just going to make them move a little so you can see them moving around the pen. They're all going to run away from me. You see 2 very cute little lambs there in the corner. This is a close-up of some Soay fleece that has been rued from one of our shearling ewes. You can see the dark brown patches which are slightly faded at the tips, and the white that's come from the rump area. If you look at the staple, I pulled a short lock out. You can see how short it is compared to the size of my hand.
The Castlemilk Moorit is one of the largest sheep breeds in the northern short-tailed primitive group. They are graceful, well-balanced, agile and fleet-footed. Their fleeces are beautifully soft, bleached by the sun to a pale brown on top and chocolate underneath. The fleece is tight and even, very soft to the touch, with the fibres varying from dark to lighter brown along their length. Staple length is 4 to 7 centimetres and each fleece weighs around 1 kilo. These ewes and lambs have not yet been shorn. The white sheep are a different breed. This breed was developed a century ago. Recent DNA analysis showing that Wiltshire Horn, Manx Loaghtan, Moorit Shetland and Soay all contributing to their development. Ewes always have two uniform wide-spreading horns. Rams have much heavier curling horns. Their meat tastes delicious. These Castlemilk Moorits have just been shorn, so you can see their lovely chocolate brown colour underneath.
I'm Heather Proctor, and this is Bambi, a 1-year-old Boreray ewe. The Boreray sheep come from the island of Boreray in the Scottish group of islands of St Kilda. They're one of the rarest British breeds of sheep. She was sheared about a month ago, so the fleece regrowth she's got now is still quite short, but they do grow a reasonably long fleece with a moderate staple length. They're usually fairly pale on the body, white or cream, with black or brown markings on the face and legs. Mostly they have horns, both male and female, but you can get some polled ewes. Some animals are dark all over. The fleece is useful for a variety of things. It can be spun or felted. It does have a variable amount of coarse fibre within it, so it can make a fairly rough yarn. But they have a very soft undercoat. If you separate the undercoat, then you can produce a very fine lace-weight yarn from that.
This is the island of North Ronaldsay, a tiny island sitting at the northernmost tip of the Orkney Isles and home to the North Ronaldsay sheep, the famous seaweed eaters. And here they survive on the seashore of this magical island, living almost entirely on a diet of rich seaweed thrown up by the Atlantic waves.
Until 1973, North Ronaldsay was the only place in the world where these sheep could be found. But thanks to the Rare Breed Survival Trust, they can now be seen on a range of more conventional grazing in farms throughout mainland Britain. So these ancient sheep, with a history dating back to the Iron Age, are small, hardy and adaptable, as you can see. They come in a wide variety of colours, producing a small but fine-fibred double fleece. And on the males in particular, there is an abundance of guard hair, providing rugged outer protection against the elements. Beneath this is the fine insulating layer of the underfleece. So, with a history stretching back to the Iron Age, this hardy little sheep is adaptable and is a survivor, adjusting to its unusual diet and meeting the challenges of its seashore environment. It has found favour with farming enterprises large and small, and its fleeces are much sought after by hand spinners, weavers and craftspeople who love the wide range of its natural colours. Indeed, it is probably the only British sheep breed to have its natural range of colours determined entirely by Mother Nature and not by the breeder.
Hello from the Shetland Sheep Society. This little breed originates from the Shetland Isles and is renowned for its versatility and is a great all-rounder for smallholders and commercial farmers. It can thrive in many different conditions, whether that be the cold climate in Scotland and the north or the milder weather down south. They are extremely hardy and make good mothers. Shetlands are also full of character. The meat they produce is fantastic and flavourful, and they have the most wonderful wool. As well as coming in a wide range of different colours and markings, making them unique among other breeds, Shetland wool is incredibly fine and soft. The key to its fineness is in the wool's crimp, which, if selecting a fleece to work with, should be something to look out for, as well as good length and strength in the staple. A good Shetland fleece, when spun, will produce a fantastic yarn. So whether it's a cosy cardigan, a snuggly blanket or a fluffy scarf, Shetland wool will bring something extra special to your woolly projects and is a favourite amongst many crafters.
This is Rupert, a 2-year-old Exmoor Horn ram. The characteristics of Exmoor Horn is the lovely sweeping wax coloured horns. The year of his birth is branded into his horns and his flock number is brought into his other horn. The characteristics of Exmoor Horn are a nice broad muzzle, lovely black nose, good strong deep sheep with lovely crisp wool covering his body, which helps to keep the weather out, much like the jumper that I'm wearing today. But Rupert is a good example of an Exmoor Horn ram. Here we have a bunch of Exmoor Horn ewes with their Exmoor Horn lambs and Exmoor Mule lambs. You can see the females have got horns the same as the males, and they're covered with the same quality crisp wool as the rams. And as you can see by the scenery and where they're living in the lovely countryside.
Hi, my name is Hannah and I run the Rosgill Portland flock here in Cumbria. Portlands are a hardy, thrifty breed. They are well suited to surviving on sparse grazing, and they can be bucket trained and are suitable to life on a small holding. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the description of them. You can see that this girl has been sheared, but I'll show you another Portland fleece in a moment. So Portlands are a small breed. The body is typical of a primitive type within the down breeds. The tail of a Portland is long, the face is tan in colour but does have lighter patches around the eyes and around the muzzle. The nose is stereotypically dark. Both tups and ewes have horns and they can have a stripe in either one or both horns. So this is a Portland lamb. She's a little girl and she is about 2 weeks old now. And as you can see, Portland lambs are born with this beautiful foxy red coat. That will start to change in a couple of months, and she will develop a cream coloured coat like her mum. So in comparison, this is also a Portland lamb. She was born in February, so she is quite a bit older, and you can see she's still kept the tan face and the tan legs, but she now has a lovely creamy white coloured coat, just like the adult sheep. So if I can just show you a close-up of her fleece, it's absolutely beautiful. You can see the crimp there and that lovely creamy white colour. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Portland fleece now. So the breed standard states that the fleece should not cover their face, their ears or their legs, which all remain this tan colour. So the fleece, when shorn, weighs around 2 to 3 kilos, so you can imagine in this warm weather that we've been having, this girl feels so much better without all that heavy fleece on. The average staple length varies from 6 to 10 centimetres and it has a micron count of 26 to 31. The Portland wool is used in many crafts as it is so versatile. The Portland fleece is great to spin. It takes up dye really well, and it is also used for wet felting, needle felting, and you can weave with the spun wool. Portland sheep are one of the oldest sheep breeds in the UK. They are slow to mature and produce an exceptionally high quality meat on a small carcass with a fine texture and great depth of flavour and deliciousness. If you would like to find out more about the breed or find any products or wool for sale, then please visit www.portlandsheep.com, and we'll be happy to answer any questions as well.
The Herdwick sheep, with its short ears, white smiling face and dark fleece, has been found in the Lake District for approximately 10,000 years and has shaped the Lakeland landscape as we know it today. Due to lack of lowland grazing, Herdwicks have evolved to withstand harsh Lakeland winters high on the fells and have special adaptations to help them thrive. They have a thick double-layer coat which consists of a dense undercoat to insulate them and an outer layer that doesn't part as the wind blows. They also have hollow white fibres in the fleece that allows the rain to wick off their coats quickly, keeping them dry, even with high levels of rainfall. As Tronk is just a year old, he has lost his lamb fleece from over this past winter, leaving just his undercoat with its tight bounce, providing good insulation compared to 8-year-old Gibbs in full fleece. As Herdwick wool is coarse and filled with these kempy white fibres, it has traditionally been a lower value clip, used for carpets and not much more. More recently, it has found favour with crafters due to the wide range of colours, from lightest grey to chocolate brown to deep slate blue, with lots of varying shades in between. Due to the coarseness of the fleece, it felts very well and can also be used on the peg loom to make items such as rugs. Herdwick lambs are born black and over the course of their first few months start to lighten up, with their faces the first to go white, followed by their legs. As they approach their first winter, their body wool changes from the black to either chocolate brown or dark slate blue. Either colour is acceptable as long as the fleece is one uniform colour and the legs and face are a hoarfrost white with no black spots. Herdwicks spend much of the year grazing wild on the Lakeland fells, only gathered at a few key times throughout the year, always returning to the same place on the fells in a process known as hefting. This lifelong knowledge of where they should be grazing is instilled into the lambs by their mothers, and a ewe will take her lambs to graze in the same place as her mother took her to graze as a lamb, and her grandmother before that, for generations upon generations.
Hello, I would just like to introduce you to Hill Radnor sheep. These guys were originally known as the Radnor Tanface, and unfortunately low numbers now mean that they're an at-risk breed with the RBST watch list. So Hill Radnor have a thick white or cream fleece, as you can see on that girl over there, and the lambs, and then they have this very distinctive tan face as well. Now the girls, or ewes, don't have any horns, but the boys, which we call the tups or rams, generally do have horns. So although they are quite big sheep, they are very friendly and easy to manage, and very food orientated, which also helps. So their fleece is a white cream colour, with a micron count of 31 to 33, and they generally have a staple length that varies between 8 to 14 centimetres. So here's a yow that hasn't been shown yet, so I'm just going to show you a close-up of her fleece. And you can see in comparison, this is her lamb.
Around the 13th century, they bred mountain sheep in the southern areas of Wales, the Welsh Mountain. This was used to feed and clothe them in those areas. It soon became apparent that the black sheep actually were larger and produced more meat and better wool. And so the Welsh Black was formed, which Nero here is one. It's a sturdy sheep with a short stapled fleece, thick to the touch, and is very warm to the skin.
From Gown Farm Rare Breeds, and this is Jemima. Jemima is a Whitefaced Woodland sheep. They're from the Glossop area of the Peak District in the Pennines. They're a hill breed, and she's got a really good fleece. Their fleeces are about 20 centimetres in staple length, which is a really good length, and a whole fleece weighs about 4 kilos. It's a medium to soft fleece, so it makes it really good for all kinds of things. It's a good fleece for felting, spinning, knitting, and the thing about it is because it has such a long staple length, it makes a really good sock yarn. You don't tend to get bobbling, and it's very, very hard wearing as well. What else can I say about you, Jemima? Well, they're quite a friendly sheep actually, and the handlebars on top of their head make them really good to handle as well. And she's not going to be sheared until about July, but I think with this hot weather she's probably wishing it was going to be a lot sooner. Anyway, that's Whiteface Woodland, so I'll say goodbye for now. Have a good Woolfest.
The Ryland is one of Britain's oldest sheep breeds, dating back to the 13th century. They were developed in the area surrounding Ross-on-Wye and were bred by monks for their highly prized wool. Ryland wool was the most expensive in Europe in the 13th and 14th centuries, and the breed further increased in popularity during the 16th century, when Queen Elizabeth I announced she would only wear clothes made from Ryland wool. Due to its high value, Ryland wool was termed Leicester ore, and it was used as the original filling of the Lord Chancellor's seat in the House of Commons. The Ryland fleece weighs between 2 and 3 kilos, and its staple length is an average of 8 centimetres. The wool is classed as a fine type of wool with a micron range between 30 and 32. The gene responsible for the wool colour in the Ryland has a recessive allele, which is how we have the coloured Ryland. Once quite rare, coloured Rylands have recently increased in popularity. If a Ryland tup and ewe are both carriers of this recessive allele and are mated together, there is a 25% chance that the offspring will be coloured Rylands. When two coloured Rylands are mated together, the offspring will always also be a coloured Ryland. The shade of the wool of the coloured Ryland can vary from pale silver, a fawn, a dark brown or black. The fleece can be a solid uniform colour, or it may vary and have patches or spots throughout the fleece.
Coming out of the Wessex tan-faced sheep, similar to the Portland, they developed the Dorset Horn. This was exported to places such as Australia and America, where they didn't like horned sheep so much. So they bred a polled, hornless version. And this is what developed and was brought back to the UK and developed further in the UK. It's a good purposeful sheep, has a lovely fleece, it's nice and soft, it's a lovely fleece to handle and is ideal for spinning.
Hi, this is Ellie from Dalton Border Leicesters over in Yorkshire. These beautiful sheep are part of the largest flock in the UK. They're rare breed. The breed goes back 250 years. I won't bore you with all the details, but you can always contact me and I'll be only too pleased to give you the details. They're called the sheep industry's great improver, because everything about them is so right. And if they were put on commercial sheep, the offspring of the commercial sheep comes out wonderfully, lean, everything correct. The best thing about the Border Leicester sheep, in my mind, is the amazing fleece that they produce. Absolutely stunning. I'm going to just put some in front of the camera now. 7 inches long, crimped from top to bottom. It's absolutely beautiful. These sheep are wonderful They are so kind and their fleece is unique. Thank you very much everybody for listening.
Since prehistoric times, there's been sheep on Dartmoor. Around 1190, Richard I actually gave them permission to graze their animals on the moors themselves on public land. And so they developed the sheep coming from the Dartmoor area. By the 14th century, the Cistercian Abbey at Buckfast was actually one of the registered exporters of wool to the Florentine market, one of the major markets in Europe. There's now two main breeds, the Whitefaced Dartmoor and this one, the Greyface Dartmoor. And the Greyface actually is one of the Leicester family, as it had Leicester Longwool put into it to improve its actual production. And these early wools were actually developed, but they did take some work. And we have many examples of the things that came out of this area during that time which affect us today. For instance, the name Fuller was come from the people who actually went around collecting urine, or the piss takers, and actually collected it to actually mix with the wool to beat it down to make into a cloth. The wool now today is not the best for spinning, but it makes great rugs, it makes great carpets, and one of the unique things that you can make out of this is actually rope. Utilise that for dog leads and the like, and it is ideal. It's very strong, very soft to the hand. And if you want to use it for garden twine, it is ideal. You can tie up your beans or your peas with it, and in the autumn just cut it and let it rot into the soil where it will release its slow nitrogen and enhance your crop for next year. So a tough, sturdy little sheep with a docile nature who produces beautiful, cute little lambs with little black noses with soot on the end. They're actually tough in the weather, their fleece will keep them dry, they're used to the adverse conditions of Dartmoor. Perhaps they're not the best for spinning fleeces for hand spinners. Since early times, sheep were just allowed to breed intermittently. If a ram came across a ewe, they bred. People accepted what they had as an outcome. They clothed themselves with that wool and they actually ate those sheep. Those that actually developed into breeds were isolated in outlying areas such as Cumbria, the Scottish Highlands, the Isle of Portland, isolated areas on the edge of the country. Then the Industrial Revolution started. People started to move to towns, industry started growing, and people needed to be fed and clothed. So a farmer, ahead of his time, called Robert Bakewell, who was at Disley Grange Farm near Loughborough in Leicestershire, started to collect the sheep from these local area, from Nottinghamshire, from Leicestershire, Derbyshire, Lincolnshire, and he bred these sheep selectively, so that the offspring were actually better than the parents. And his aim was to look at those sheep that could feed and clothe the Industrial Revolution. He tried for many times and he gradually got to his perfect animal. Some of those went off early and created other breeds, such as the Lincolnshire, but he persevered and eventually he created what's known as the Disley Leicester. The Disley Leicester now is known as the Leicester Longwool, and as you can see, it has long wool as its name would describe perfectly. So this was the animal that fed and actually clothed the Industrial Revolution, along with his other animals, which he did cattle, which was the Longhorn that you may see around, and the Tamworth pig. He used to rent these animals out so that people could breed from them, but he kept the rental fees rather than selling them off. The fathers of America, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, had vast flocks of Leicester sheep and ensured they bought the best rams that they could and imported them from the UK. And this helped fuel their political power and their wealth. So this sheep has gone around the world and has many offspring throughout the world, but in particular in the UK. So this is a luxurious fleece, ideal for all projects. It's soft, it's long stapled, it has a lustre, it has a spring to it, ideal for clothing next to the skin. It's ideal for rugs, it's ideal for actually felt work. The perfect all-round animal, which has been used to breed many breeds around the world to actually improve stock that was already there. So here we have the Bluefaced Leicesters, the coloured and the white. The farmers in the north wanted to develop a sheep to improve their stock. So using probably a dark-skinned Border Leicester together with a Wensleydale ewe, they produced the Bluefaced Leicesters. These are beautiful animals with a beautiful fleece, in both obviously the coloured and the white, although the white is the one that's more common. The coloured tends to be a northern sheep, mainly around Yorkshire, that sort of area, as it tends to produce a slightly larger, stronger animal for breeding. It is this breed which actually produces the sire for the Mule. This is a beautiful fleece, ideal for hand knitting. It combs beautifully. It is lustrous, it is resilient. It is a great fleece for actually hand spinning. Although it is not a beginner's fleece, it does take some work to use, but it is worth it. It is soft and gorgeous.
This is a Coopworth. She's got 2 ewe lambs and they are both by a Ryland Wensleydale cross who's dark grey, so I'm quite pleased to have one black lamb out of these 2. And next to her we have a Poll Dorset. She's got 2 ewe lambs as well. And next to her we have a lady just clearing up her afterbirth. She is Wensleydale Bluefaced Leicester with a bit of Corriedale in the background. In this pen we have a lot of ladies who've produced their lambs and they are now in the big pen getting used to finding their own mother amongst the others. At the back there is another Poll Dorset. We do allow white sheep in the coloured sheep breeders, so we get some very nice fleeces from them too, although I don't do any dyeing. I prefer these coloured sheep. These are the other mothers of all these various lambs. And next to them in this pen is a whole load of waiting sheep. These haven't lambed yet. There's quite a few shearlings who are by Bluefaced Leicester Wensleydale cross. At the back there's a brown Shetland. The little one lying down chewing there is part Wensleydale Ryland. Here is, this is Rowena, she's an Icelandic cross. And the brown-faced one just looking at us there is part Corriedale, part Ryland. There are a couple of Shetlands behind there.
These are our Castle Blue lambs. These are a cross between a Castlemilk Moorit ewe and a Bluefaced Leicester tup. And when we first tried this cross, we used a white Bluefaced Leicester that must have had a black recessive gene, because some of the lambs came out white and some of them came out this lovely chocolate colour. So since then we've always used a black Bluefaced Leicester tup. We only breed our best ewes pure, and then the other ewes that we have, that we cross them and we get these great lambs. And the females we keep as breeding stock or sell them to other farmers because they're great mums and they're a great asset to a farm. They produce beautiful fleece and you can sell the sheepskins as well, so they're a bit more economical. They grow bigger than the pure Castlemilk Moorits, so that's why we do it, just to make a sort of profitable animal from our rare breed sheep. And we're really, really delighted with these this cross, the Castle Blue.
Lollipop here is a mule. She was a pet lamb that came to our flock when somebody couldn't look after her, and she's been a great little character ever since. The mule is one of the Leicester family and is the main ewe in the British flock. The father is a Bluefaced Leicester. The mother comes from the hill sheep, normally black-faced, the Swaledale, the Dales bred, the Scottish Blackface. These are pure mules. Mule now often means a mixture of breeds. To be a proper mule, it must come out of the Bluefaced Leicester sire. And because of that heritage, you can get a lovely fleece. But you must check, because on the mother's side they have those hill sheep which the fleeces can be a little bit rougher. So if you want a prolific animal that's fleeces as easy to get, that you want to do some general work with, the mule is great. It's very reasonably priced and it can be very good and soft. Just check before you buy.
This is Chief. He's a blue Angora and he is being clipped. He has a 3-inch long coat, as you can see. Angora wool grows 1 inch a month and can get up to 9 inches, but a coat of that length will be very difficult to maintain, and for spinning we're content to cut at 3 inches. The wool is parted in the middle on the rabbit, and then we cut down each side in turn with hairdressing scissors. The wool is stored in heavy-duty plastic freezer bags to keep out the moths. I would expect to get about 50 grams of good spinning wool from Chief, as he is quite a small rabbit. Maximum would be about 100 grams. The clipping doesn't hurt the rabbit in any way, and certainly after clipping he'll be out in his pen on the lawn digging holes in the lawn.
So a good little sheep, stocky, hardy, can do, sorry. It may have picked up some merino influence from the Spanish area as it passed through, and it ended up at the Isle of Portland.
You all right?
Yep. Don't you dare break my glasses.